Hey, what's up, guys? Y'all rocking with DJ Femmy Rekson. I'm here with a Q&A. Pretty much some questions from you guys about who I am, my music process, my inspirations, tips for how anybody could come up in this music business. So I guess the first question is, tell us a bit about yourself, your background, what inspired you to start DJing/producing. So I'll say wrap that all up. I say it's my dad. When I was young, when I was around 7, 8, my dad used to take me and my cousins to parties because he was a DJ. He used to DJ every weekend. And from there, we would do video. We'll take pictures, record while he's DJing. And from there, we used to see him. And for me, I really loved that about him. I felt like that's where we connected the most. So then, as I got older, I wanted to give that DJing a chance, and I took into it, and I got good at it, and I really liked it. Music production, when I was young, when I was in middle school, I used to get in trouble a lot. I wouldn't pay attention. I was a class clown. I was all over the place. And with it, when I had detention, I used to hear people playing instruments, and I was trying to figure out what's going on over there, and I found out it was a philharmonic. Pretty much that's like a group ensemble of instruments like violin, viola, cello, and I was curious and interested in it. And my teacher, music teacher back then, she used to say, if you want to be part of this, you have to be disciplined and you really have to be in this. And I was like, yes, I want to. And from there, I took interest in learning instruments, played the violin, viola. I learned about the recorder, learned a little bit about the guitar, bass, and then from there, she's the one that introduced me to FL Studio or Fruity Loops back in the day. So that's how I got into that. About myself, I'm from New York, born and raised, Nigerian American. I have a big family. Family runs deep. A lot of cousins, siblings there, 2 sisters. Big family. This is a good question. Somebody asked, what's the process like when you're selecting songs for refixes? Okay, so for that process, what I do is I just kind of sit back and I'm listening to a song. If I'm a big sucker for lyrics, so when I'm listening to a song and I'm listening to the lyrics and I'm like, ooh. When I hear it, I'm like, okay, I want to touch this up. So then I go look for a song, maybe in another genre, maybe in another language, maybe in another, just anything that can supplement that. So I may play a song that talks about love, maybe by Giveon, and blend it with a song by an Afrobeat artist that's talking about love as well. So that's how I come up with the refixes. At times I listen to the beat, I listen to even the style. Maybe I just want to create refixes that just get people dancing. That's how I'm inspired. Another question, someone asks, Logic or FL Studio? And that'd be tough. Honestly, I'm an Ableton user. So in different points of my life, different times of my life, I've used FL Studio and I've used Logic Pro. I've also used Reason, and even at one point I used Audacity. And if you know Audacity is just plain. It's nothing to it. It's just a plain sound recorder. So during these different times, I've enjoyed them. So I would rate it as between Logic or FL. I would say Logic, and the reason why is Logic has a clean interface. Only thing I don't like about Logic is if you're doing a lot on it, if you're using a lot of plugins or instruments, if it crashes, yeah, it sucks. So same with FL, they all have their flaws, but I think Logic works better. FL, you get into FL, you may use drum sequencer, randomize stuff, and you may get a beat real quick, and then you just put your melody and all that stuff, and it's quick. But Logic also, it gives you your plain setup. Gives you the opportunity to just say, you want to create any genre, any type of song. So that makes that easier. What advice do you give to new DJs trying to get into the game? I would say make sure you know your equipment and make sure you know what you're going to do with it. When I first started, when I was in high school and I was DJing high school parties, I DJ'd some and my other friend DJ'd some. But for me, I came there with a laptop. No mixer, no controller, no turntables, nothing. Just a laptop. And it was easy for me. Same with my friend. He came with his instruments, turntables, whatever, and he did a good job. So it varies. You got to know your key mappings. If you're starting off, have a laptop, get your music, know your key mappings, know what button is to put an effect, what buttons to switch songs. Once you have that in mind, you'll be okay. 2, also, remember what you're there for. When you're starting and you're working on music, you gotta keep reminding yourself what you're doing it for. Sometimes we get distracted. Sometimes we lose hope in ourselves. We are down sometimes, but make sure you're able to remind yourself or have somebody that's gonna remind you why you're doing this. Another question that goes hand in hand with this as well is, what's the process in selecting a price for a client? And this applies both for DJing and producing. With DJing, I guess the way that I started, I didn't really know this process as well. I used to just ask other DJs and they'll tell me their price. But what I realized would work is, first, you kind of base how much you get paid at a regular job. You take that price. At what you get paid, you take that price, add price of a meal each hour. Just say price of a meal each hour. Also add gas. If you're traveling, hotel. At the end of the day, you also have to sit with yourself and figure out how much does it cost. If I have to hire somebody to carry my equipment, how much that costs. You add it to it. At the end of the day, you'll get something between 65 and 100. That's that. If you know you're really, really good and you know that, hey, I'm providing this person tip-top quality, you can up the price up. The main thing is that you know how to negotiate. If you suck at negotiating, you're going to get played. And when I first started, I was getting played because I was cool with making just anything. But now to the point, I set a price, and if somebody has a concern and they really want to know, my price is there, but I also let them know, hey, this is for hotel and all of that stuff and travel fees and tolling gas and all of that. So that's where that kicks in. So that you get your rate on that, as well as also going online. You Google the average rate for a DJ hourly. Then from that, you negotiate. And you also got to play it smart. There's some clients that you may be able to really leverage things. You see that they have a big following or they have a big circle. You may want to put your price down a little bit. But at the end of the day, some people may not want to do that. They may not want to put their price down. They accept it and it works for them. But if you really, really want that gig, you'll push for that price, whatever you want. And then you, just like Fat Joe said, yesterday's price is not today's price. So at the end of the day, you got to keep that in mind. The value goes up. There'll be a point you'll be charging $200 an hour. Somebody else may say, that's nuts, I'm not paying for that. But guess what? There's somebody else that's going to pay for it because they see the value in you. So hopefully that's where we're all trying to push. Someone said, what does most of your music catalog consist of? It varies. And that varies based off events and gigs that I get and experiences I get. Mainly, of course, Afro beats is going to be my number one. That's highlight. That's Nigerian music. That's going to be number one. Next is your regular hip hop, R&B, pop, a little bit of house that kicks in. Then gradually I started getting a little bit of Latin music, getting a little bit of electronic music, and I kind of go to each genre with an open mind. I don't like cutting songs out because of a genre or maybe because of age group. That was me in the beginning. When I used to hear mumble rap, I used to be like, nah, they all could go. But then I had to give it a chance to say, okay, out of all these artists, I gotta pick some that maybe are popping right now, and I also gotta pick some that have been consistent. This is an important question. How do you balance your work and hobbies? It's tough. With the balance, you actually have to figure out what you're able to change. Just like Beyonce, just like Jay-Z, everyone has 24 hours. You have to figure out how you're gonna move in your 24 hours. With my job, I had to travel every other week. I was in another state for a whole week. So at times I used to take my laptop, my work laptop. I used to take my MPC or my push with me. And mind you, as soon as I finish from work, I'm not even going out to go hang out or anything. Whatever state I'm at, I'll come back, work on music. After that, review some notes, and then the next day I'm in a facility. The next day, and then maybe Thursday I'll come back, and I use that time to go check out the city. And then it got to a point where you kind of have to sit and reflect, like, what are you trying to do? Is this a hobby for you that you can just throw it out anytime, or is this something that you really want to take seriously? You kind of have to adjust. Some things are whether you want to change your job. You may have a job where you're working in the morning and you come home at like 5 p.m. and by 5 p.m. you're drained. You may say, hey, let me look for another job where instead of me working in the morning, I'm working nights. Then you also kind of have to base it on your environment, like where I'm at. Whether it's the morning time or the evening time, I could crank the speakers up. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to figure out your schedule, how you want to move. Some people are realizing with COVID, their jobs have been too demanding, have been hectic, and they look for an opportunity to find another career that allow that freedom. So that's advice for that. And just figure out how you're gonna balance it. You don't want to be that person that you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I took advantage of that opportunity. And nobody here want to hear excuses. Oh, it's my job. Because guess what? Somebody else has a job too. Somebody else has kids. Somebody else has responsibilities. But they're making that time to actually take care of their hobbies. This question kind of goes back to DJs trying to get in the game, but it's what should be the first thing to learn as a new producer / DJ. And I would say music theory. You have to learn music theory. You have to. Learning scales, or you learning your chromatic, the Camelot scale. It's pretty much, for every song there's a key. You don't want to blend a song that's in like 12A or in other terms like B sharp minor with G major or A sharp or whatever, just different keys, because people will hear the difference. And I think that's where I'm able to master blending music well. You have to know your keys. Being able to blend two songs and it flows smoothly, that's one. Another thing is rhythm, beats, timing. When you're learning BPM, there's a song that's fast paced. You don't want to blend that with a song that's slow paced. You have to learn how to put those together. At times there's this feature on controllers and all of the DJ equipment. It's called the sync button. And pretty much what that does is no matter where you are, it syncs the music together, the BPM. And even though it's good, I don't care. I mean, I use it. Does not make me a trash DJ. Hey, it works. At the end of the day, that's why it's there. It's there. Sync button is there for a reason. If not, they would have never brought it up. But with it, even though the sync button is there, at times it does not sound well when it's connected like that. So you kind of have to be the judge of that. You have to have your ears to be able to pick that up. Another thing is reading your crowd. In order for you to DJ, you kind of have to be observant of other DJs. At the end of the day, just like how you're a DJ, you also have to acknowledge other DJs. One of my mentors, DJ Obi, he said, yo, in this DJing business, everybody can eat. And I agree. It's true. Because every weekend, every Friday, there's a wedding. Every Saturday, there's a wedding. Every Sunday, there's a wedding. Every Friday is a birthday. Every Saturday is a birthday. There's all types of events going on every weekend. Half the DJ population can be covering weddings on the weekend. The other half can be covering birthdays. There's graduation parties. There's so many events. So there's no limitations. There's not a drought on events. It's not. Only on certain seasons and stuff where it's kind of drizzled down. But no, it's not a drought. So with it, you got to observe other DJs. You got to observe your mates. Yes, everybody, you have to be tough. You have to be on your grizzy. You have to really fight for your seat. And for me, it was tough. With it, I couldn't do it by myself. Like with it, and I also say management. If you have a manager, no matter who that person is, manager is pretty much somebody who knows you and is able to vouch for you and move for you. Me, I'm the DJ that likes to DJ. I don't really like to talk to people, for real. I don't like to talk. I like to DJ and play music. And there's somebody else that's handling the business. Doesn't matter who the person is. Just making sure you have that good relationship, that they know what you want and they can speak for you when you're not there. Another thing is, so you have to be very social. You have to communicate. Closed mouths don't get fed out here. With it, when you're talking with people, you're knowing what they want. They're knowing what you want. Sometimes at events, people say, hey, I'm doing this event. I'm kind of short on this, but if you're somebody that's trying to get exposure, if you're trying to get yourself out there, say yeah. Yeah, I'm down with it. You go there, you DJ. If you don't like it, you just check that off. Hey, maybe with this person, I don't want to be taking that much gigs from them. And then also at times, practice. You have to practice. Me, I don't practice like just working on stuff. I just do more of my research and I just listen to music. I don't like to just put anything and say this is the playlist I have ready. I just free fall for it. I just say, hey, I read the environment. If I have an R&B playlist and I'm playing that and everybody's like, oh, no, we don't like it, I gotta figure out what people like. And it's okay. If you're a DJ, depending on how you are, some people don't like taking requests. I do. I like taking requests because if now I'm in Baltimore now, I'm in a Baltimore club or a lounge or whatever, and I'm trying to figure out what do people like. I played all the lit songs, everybody's dancing. What do people like? Some people come to me and say, yo, my man's play this. This is by this. And I'm like, who's this? They say, play it. This is by this local artist. I play it. Everybody in the lounge is lit. Or maybe not, but most of the time they're lit. Then they're like, play this version. But I'm like, okay. And then somebody may come to me and say, yo, you got this group, this band. And I'm like, that they're giving you a little bit of them. So you kind of have to also be receptive to that. If you're a DJ that you've done your research, you may not want to take a request. But if you're coming up, you have to, because you don't know everybody. You don't know what their music is. Ooh, I like this. Who would you like to work with? Who inspires you? Which artists do you admire? DJing wise, I would say DJ Tunes and Jules. I mean, when I say DJ Tunes is coming from New York. You know, when he was coming up, I was young as hell. I ain't really know about him like that, and I heard about him from my older cousins because I used to ride around with them. But he was really putting his work in, and to see where he is now, it's like, yo, it shows that, yo, somebody from down the block or somebody that's the borough down literally made it. Literally got to a point where they're doing something that's out of their norm. Another thing too, I went to this party, and I think I got it from him, this skill. Went to this party, right, and it's him, DJ Obi, one my mentor. Uh, I don't want to mess this up. I think it was two other DJs there. I think Suave and Manny, I believe. Maybe Suave, but it was a party at NYU, and it was lit. Like, I'm telling you, you know, a party's lit when it's hot, when it's to the point you just sweating, and it gets to a point you just wipe your face with your hand, and there's still sweat on your face and your hand, and you just go and you wipe it again, and you just keep doing it to the point that you just wiping sweat on your face and your shirt, and it's sweat, it's hot. And Tools, he's mixing, and normally with the DJing setup, what happens is when you got another DJ, one is like really he's the driver, and the other one's on the mic. And at times the other one is selecting the songs, and the other one's helping you blend it. So he's playing. I'm like, okay, playing some, I don't know, some dance hall song. I forgot what it was. Then he switches it to Ojo Eleba by Wizkid. And when you hear that song, it's a banger. Everybody's like, oh my God. All the Nigerians is like, oh my God, it's Wizkid. So me, I'm like, okay, boom, boom, boom. Then all of a sudden I hear, sorry. He switches it from Wizkid to Justin Bieber. Then switches it from Justin Bieber to, I believe, Bryson Tiller. Don't. And I'm sitting there like, whoa. And I love that because I enjoy that process of, he had a message. Even though he's picking a song, he had a direction he was taking that. And I feel like that's the amazing thing, that no matter what, you don't hear DJs copying each other's transitions. You don't hear DJs copying each other's selection of music. You can give each DJ 5 songs, and I can bet that each of them are going to play in a different rotation. And that's what he did that night, and it was so lit. And then another thing too is he took that step. He kind of created a blueprint for upcoming DJs, yo. DJ, you learn to produce, you work with artists, you also try to create a brand. Jules, this dude is spiritual. Like, this man is spiritual. Like, when he came up, all of a sudden you hearing all these songs. Like, I feel like he was the pioneer for all of these guys that's making all these island vibe songs where everybody's. Jules is really the guy that really set that up, especially with Mr. Easy and Effia and different artists. He just come up and it's like you on vacation every time you. Jules, it's like you're on vacation. Every time you listen to a song, it's on vacation. So he came up, and it's the drums. I'm thinking, like, you know what? I didn't really think on it. I was like, the drums are, it's like. But then when I'm seeing videos where he's actually, I'm like, man, this dude, it's not loops. It's not like he's just taking something off a splice. This man is really mixing stuff. He's really, with the shaker, everything is all just real and natural, is just there. And then the vibes, if you listen to the music and you watch the music videos, I'm just like, man, this guy just comes in there, sits, eats some cookies. There's like 6-7 girls around him. They all look fire. He's looking at them like, why are you grabbing my guitar? What are you running over here for? Aren't y'all supposed to do a photo shoot? Oh my God, this is what we're using for a music video? And guess what? All of that is fun because it's just showing that, yo, we just having a vibe. And I feel like Jules really brought that idea of what a vibe is, to not just go somewhere with expectations of doing something or getting something. Just come there and just be you. Producer wise, of course, Ryan Leslie is a beast. I was watching his videos back in the day. This guy would get on a jet. He'll get on a jet, go to some studio, work on something, work on the keys, work on the synthesizer. He'll play the drums himself. Once he's done, put his leather jacket on. He's out the studio, on his way to Monaco, some other place, working with another artist, and he's very talented. Another person is Kanye West. One thing with Kanye West is he takes the simplest samples and he's picking parts of it and he's chopping, and he's inspired by so much. The Graduation was a dope album. Late Registration, College Dropout, that really was like, whoa. He really brought these soulful vibes. And I'm just sitting there like, whoa, he did that. So Kanye, that's Kanye, Ryan Leslie for me there. Question, why won't you teach your cousin bass? I'll be honest. I have this maybe imposter syndrome or something. Or whatever, I don't know what to call it. When I came up in church, right? And you know, when like I went to CAC, right? So when church came up, there's only like, back then it was only like 7 families in that church, and there's like 4 or 5 kids. And back then we used to sing songs and clap. Then when we got a little money, that's when we got drums, keyboards, mics, all that stuff. And when it got to that, they were designating people. You learn drums, you learn keyboard, you learn bass, you, this could sound crazy, but women, y'all sing. You, brother, join choir, you sing too. So it got to that point where we weren't picky. We weren't saying, I want to pick that. We got thrown into it. And back then, unfortunately, I got thrown into playing the keyboard. And mostly we improvise. Learn a little chords, you play it, learn a little fingering, play this, how this style, okay. Then after a while, somebody else professional come in and say, okay, I know what to do. They play. And during that time, it was like my uncle. He came in and played the keyboard. And then I switched to the bass. And when I played the bass guitar, I was playing by ear. I don't know the notes on the strings. Even my cousin, he'll play the keyboard and be like 6, F3. And I'm looking like, are we playing chess or are we playing bingo or what? I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Not knowing that the whole time he was saying like either chord structures or note fingering. I didn't know. But for me, when it came to playing the bass, I was tearing that shit up. I was, but I don't know the notes. I'm just muscle memory, figuring out, okay, I know when I play this is the note I play when I want to hear this note. And that's it. So I felt like I had a hard time teaching somebody, bro, if you want to hear doom, play this note. I don't know how to teach it. So that was one of the hard things. And I felt like the best person I relate to was, remember there was a movie, Drumline, with Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon came in there playing the drum, but he ain't know nothing about reading notes or nothing. But he just played because that's how he learned. So that was me. So that's my answer, Cuzzo. There's no hate, there's no problems. I just don't know. And the very last question is, do you like cranberry juice? And the very last question is, do you like cranberry juice? I sure do. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I guess when going out with friends and stuff, I'm not a big drinker like that. When I was in college, yeah, but when I got older, I was like, nah, man's gotta wake up the next day to work. Man's got things to do. Man's gotta keep his body going right, you know. So of course I drink cranberry. I'll be like, oh my god, it's delicious. But then I become very picky because I'm like, I don't want the cocktail version. I want the original, like actual cranberry. So I like cranberry. Thank you everybody for rocking with me on this Q&A. I know it's been long. I don't know. Maybe I may cut it in half, or I might just put it like how it is. with it. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you got any thoughts and you got any ideas for what my next video should be, drop it in the comment. Check me out on Instagram. You'll find that in the bio. Check me out on Apple Music. Check my refixes out on SoundCloud, YouTube, and keep on rocking.